the most successful military commander in history. Meet Alexander the Great, the king of Macedon, who conquered the known world. Let's find out more about him. Hello, and welcome to our channel, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history. Some people are born great. Alexander the Great was not one of them. He was born into a royal family, sure, but he wasn't born great. In fact, if you ask most historians, he didn't even look all that great. You can't deny, however, that he ended up looking great, at least when it came to his military career. We'd go so far as to say that Alexander the Great is one of the greatest military commanders of all time, only topped by Genghis Khan. But even Khan didn't conquer as much as Alexander did. Here are some crazy facts about Alexander the Great that will turn him into your favorite historical figure in no time. Number 12, the Battle of Granicus River. At the age of just 20 years old, Alexander the Great led his army to victory against the Persians in the Battle of the Granicus River. This was his first major victory after taking the throne from his father, King Philip II, who had been assassinated. This was an important win for Alexander, since it showed the other Greek city-states that he was capable of handling the Persian threat. It also showed his opponents that he could lead an army to victory. After the battle, Alexander pursued the retreating Persians, gaining further ground and prestige. The victory at Granicus River was the first step in Alexander's rise to power. Number 11, the Battle of Issus. The Battle of Issus in 333 BCE was a pivotal moment in ancient history. It was here that Alexander the Great defeated the much larger army of the Persian king Darius III. The Macedonian army, under Alexander's brilliant leadership, used their superior tactics and discipline to defeat the numerically superior Persians. The battle resulted in a decisive victory for Alexander, who went on to conquer much of the Middle East and Central Asia. The aftermath of the battle saw the destruction of much of the Persian fleet and the capture of several key cities, including Tyre and Sidon. This victory was a testament to Alexander's military genius and paved the way for his empire to span from Greece to India. Number 10, the Battle of Gaugamela. The Battle of Gaugamela was fought between the armies of Alexander the Great and the last great king of the Achaemenid Empire, Darius III. The Macedonian army under Alexander's command faced off against the numerically superior Persian forces near the city of Gaugamela in northern Mesopotamia. Despite being outnumbered, the Macedonians used their superior tactics and discipline to defeat the Persians decisively. This battle was a turning point in Alexander's campaigns in the east, securing his control over Mesopotamia and paving the way for his advance into Persia proper. With the defeat of Darius III, the Achaemenid Empire effectively collapsed, marking the end of an era in ancient history. Number 9, the Conquest of Tyre. The siege of Tyre was a pivotal moment in Alexander the Great's military career. Determined to punish the rebellious Phoenician city-state for its defiance against the growing Macedonian Empire, Alexander laid siege to the city in 332 BCE. For 7 months, his army bombarded Tyre with ineffective catapults until they were forced to build a causeway connecting the mainland to the island city. Finally, breaching the walls, Alexander's men fought fiercely against the Tyrian defenders. Despite fierce resistance, the Macedonians eventually prevailed. Alexander's conquest of Tyre demonstrated his relentless pursuit of imperial ambitions and the lengths he would go to crush opposition to his rule. It also showcased the military prowess and tenacity of both the Macedonian army and the Tyrian defenders, making it a legendary event in ancient military history. Number 8, the Crossing of the Bees. The crossing of the Bees was a significant event during Alexander the Great's campaign in India. After defeating King Porus at the Battle of the Bees in 326 BCE, Alexander and his army decided to cross the river and explore further into the Indian subcontinent. This move was driven by Alexander's desire to become the world's greatest conqueror and push his empire to its limits. Crossing the Bees presented numerous challenges, including hostile local tribes and the risk of losing his army in unfamiliar territory. However, Alexander's determination to expand his empire led him to press on. Despite facing setbacks, Alexander managed to establish friendly relations with some Indian rulers and advanced as far as the Bhairavat River. Eventually, his troops refused to go further, forcing him to return home. The crossing of the Bees was a defining moment in Alexander's legacy, showcasing his ambition, determination, and the limits of his empire. Number 7. Alexander at the Sea of Repose, a small clay tablet inscribed with 18 characters, tells us of Alexander's travels to the far eastern edge of the world, the place where the sun sets and the sea has no end. According to the record, Alexander visited the farthest shore of the earth, the ocean without shores, where day turns to night and the stars shine in the middle of the day. These writings describe Alexander's journey to the Sea of Repose, now known as the Sea of Japan, which shows his desire to explore the unknown. Though no concrete evidence supports this claim, historians believe that Alexander's fleet may have sailed along the Korean peninsula or eastern Siberia. This expedition could have been part of his efforts to expand his empire and trade networks, as well as his curiosity about the world beyond his known world. Number 6. Egypt's new pharaoh. When Alexander the Great entered Egypt in 332 BC, he was greeted as a liberator. The Egyptians had been under the rule of the Persian Empire for more than a century and were eager for a new pharaoh. Alexander, with his charisma and military prowess, was the perfect candidate. He was proclaimed pharaoh, and the ancient Egyptians saw him as the embodiment of their gods. Alexander continued the tradition of divine kingship, building magnificent palaces, temples, and monuments across Egypt. One of his most notable accomplishments was the founding of the city of Alexandria, which quickly became one of the most important cities in the ancient world. His contributions to Egyptian culture and society solidified his status as a beloved ruler, and his legacy continues to be celebrated in Egypt to this day. Number 5. The royal wedding at Susa. The wedding of Alexander the Great and Roxana, a Bactrian princess, took place in the ancient city of Susa in 327 BCE. This union symbolized the merging of two distinct cultures, the Macedonian and the Persian. The wedding was a grand affair, showcasing the wealth and extravagance of the newly established empire. Historical accounts describe the celebration as a lavish display of wealth and power, complete with a procession of elephants carrying lit candelabras on their tusks. The event was not only a personal union between two individuals, but also a strategic alliance aimed at solidifying Alexander's control over his vast empire. The wedding of Alexander and Roxana remains a significant event in ancient history, highlighting the cultural exchange and political alliances that shaped the course of empires. Number 4. Aristotle's student. When Alexander the Great was 14 years old, his father, King Philip II of Macedon, decided to give him a tutor. Philip wanted his son to be well educated, so he hired the best teacher in Greece, Aristotle. Aristotle was a philosopher and scientist who had his own school in Athens. He taught Alexander about philosophy, science, literature, and poetry. Alexander loved learning from Aristotle and became very close to him. They would discuss all sorts of topics and ideas, and Aristotle would often take Alexander on trips to different parts of Greece so he could learn about the different cultures and people. Their relationship was so strong that when Alexander became king and conquered much of the known world, he continued to correspond with Aristotle and supported his work. Number 3. The tomb of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great died young at the age of 32 in 323 BCE. The exact cause of his death is unknown, but it is believed to have been due to malaria or typhoid fever. Alexander was buried in a tomb in Alexandria, Egypt, which was designed by renowned architect Callinicus of Bithynia. Although the original tomb was lost to history, excavations in the 20th century uncovered fragments of the burial chamber, including parts of the sarcophagus. These remnants suggest that Alexander's tomb was a masterpiece of ancient architecture, decorated with intricate carvings of mythical creatures and scenes from Alexander's life. The discovery of the tomb provided valuable insights into the burial practices of the Hellenistic period and the immense respect and admiration that Alexander's subjects had for their beloved leader. Number 2. Alexander the God. While alive, Alexander the Great was considered a god by some. His face adorned many coins and statues, and temples were built in his honor. However, it was after his death that he was officially deified. In 321 BCE, the people of Babylon declared him a god and made his mother Olympias a goddess. This was done to strengthen the connection between the Macedonian kings and the gods. It was also a way to make Alexander seem more divine and powerful. The cult of Alexander spread throughout his empire, and people began to worship him as a god in cities like Alexandria, Egypt. People built temples and made sacrifices to Alexander, and he was seen as a protector of the empire and a bringer of good fortune. Even though Alexander was never considered a god while alive, he was seen as a demigod or a chosen person by the gods. Number 1. After Alexander. When Alexander the Great died, his empire was divided among his friends and generals, starting a series of wars known as the Wars of the Diadochi. Each general wanted to rule the empire, and they fought many battles to gain power. Eventually, the empire was split into several pieces, and each piece became its own kingdom. These kingdoms were ruled by Alexander's descendants and other generals for centuries. The splitting of Alexander's empire had a big impact on the ancient world. It helped spread Greek culture and ideas throughout Asia and Africa. It also led to the creation of new kingdoms and states, which changed the way people lived and traded. Today, we remember Alexander the Great as one of the greatest leaders and conquerors in history. But what do you think? What was the most impressive thing about Alexander the Great? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more crazy history stories.